In 2000, at the beginning of the transition to democracy, the upper house of parliament in Indonesia actually declared their intent to establish a truth commission. However, 12 years later, there is still no truth commission in sight, despite the fact that also in Aceh and Papua, under the special autonomy laws, there are actually supposed to be 2 truth commissions for those particular contexts. In 2004, a truth commission law was actually passed, but in 2 years it was annulled by a decision of the Constitutional Court. And part of the problem is that the truth commission law, required that victims forgive their perpetrators in order to qualify for reparations. So obviously that's very problematic. So during this 12-year period, civil society has been very active in documenting the stories of victims. The stories of atrocities in Indonesia took place since 1965, during the beginning of the Suharto regime. So many of the victims and witnesses of the atrocities of the time are now very, very old. In fact, when we meet victims and in meetings, we are always told, oh, Mr. So-and-so, Miss So-and-so recently passed. So we are actually running against time. So civil society groups have been documenting either by doing interviews, taking testimonies, doing oral histories, videotaping the stories of victims from 1965 in Aceh, in all the different islands in Indonesia, and in Papua. And these stories are actually very, very important for our own understanding of what happened, and for us to actually take stock at the legacy of the past and trying to find a solution for a stronger democracy and accountability in Indonesia. So one of the things that we're working on with some of our partners are involved in a coalition called the Coalition for Truth and Justice, and it's made up of about 20 NGOs throughout all over Indonesia. This year, starting March 24th, the Day for the Right to Truth and Dignity of Victims, we're going to start a 1-year campaign on the right to truth. And this is sort of our own civil society truth process, where we're going to try to gather together all the various testimonies, archives, and information that we've gathered in the last 12, 13 years, and trying to make the big picture. Actually, what happened? What are the patterns? How many people were affected? What is the impact that we still feel now, not only in terms of the fact that some of the people who are most responsible for these crimes continue to play a role in Indonesian politics, but also in terms of the impact on our social economic lives, in terms of corruption, for example, in terms of the quality of education in Indonesia, in terms of land laws and agrarian reform, land conflict. All these have roots in the atrocities of the past, and the fact that under the Suharto regime there was an engine that was created to serve the elite, and that engine has not been dismantled really. And this is our part of our process towards democracy, in trying to actually understand what actually took place in the past, and trying to learn those lessons. Basically, as the state, our government is not ready to do this, we civil society have to take on a role. We have to, in a way, fill the vacuum, because we cannot wait another 10 years, another 20 years. The victims are dying off one by one, and they're bringing with them their very important stories that are actually a treasure trove for the next generation.